Let's jump into prompting with Replit. What is Replit? It's a cloud-based coding environment and it supports tons of different languages. So everything from React Native to C+. You have a wide range of options on how to build whatever it is you want to build. You can build web apps, chatbots, games, APIs, etc. The way the pricing works is you can actually get started for free and you can build up to 10 public apps. So these have to be public, meaning the world will be able to have access to them. And you get 2 gigs of storage per app. The catch with the starter plan is that you get very limited access to the Replit AI. And this is really the brains behind Replit. This helps you code and, troubleshoot and figure out problems. So if you don't have access to it, it's not as useful. The Replit Core is $20 a month if you do annual, or $25 a month if you go month to month. And this gives you unlimited apps, private and public, and you get 50 gigs of storage. You also have full access to the Replit AI. That's what I use. Next, let's look at stage 1. These prompts are focused on setting up your project in the best way using Replit. The first prompt that I start with, and again, I'm building a React Native project, is I install Node.js. Without Node, none of my scripts would work, and builds would only run locally. This is like the motor to the engine of my app. Next, I install Expo CLI. Expo is a platform that lets you deploy Android and iOS apps from the same code base, so you don't have to build 2 separate code bases. And you need this command line interface to create, run, and manage all your Expo projects. The third prompt is create your project, Expo init. This is initializing Expo, and this sets up all the files and the folders that you need so you can start coding right away. The fourth prompt is to create a new React Native project with Expo, blank template, set up navigation and API calls. So this allows you to start with a clean slate, and you won't have clutter or unnecessary code in your project. You can add features step by step, and it allows you to understand your project from the ground up. Next is start your project, Expo Start. This allows you to open and preview your app instantly, either in the browser or even on your phone with Expo Go. So this is really good for quick testing or sharing your work. Next, we want to have Replit install required dependencies, Expo, React Navigation, Axios, and to configure your package.json. So this is like adding power tools before you start building. And without these tools, you would spend hours doing things manually and you would get slowed down eventually. This just gives you the tools that you need so that you can build fast. Next, if you're going to be working with APIs, you want to install API dependencies. These are your core building blocks. And this helps you get your API framework set up in the correct way. Stage 2. So stage 1 was all about setting up the foundation of your project. Stage 2 is about core API and navigation. The next prompt is add your environment variables. And this includes like your API URL and keys. Also, any other sensitive credentials that you're going to need in your app, you store them here. This is a secure way to manage sensitive information on your app. It won't make it vulnerable to being discovered by the public. Next, have it scaffold a sample API call, fetch and display, error handling, and responsive UI. This gives you a working pipeline from your app to start using live data early in your development. That means you can test real-world scenarios quickly and spot API issues before you build a ton of features and discover that you have some broken data. Next, let's have Replit set up Expo, router, and API route. This keeps your code organized, and you won't end up with a messy code base because you've structured your navigation and backend calls in a clean, predictable way. Stage 3. Now we're going to set up our development tools. Next, let's have it configure debugging tools. This makes it easier to spot mistakes. When you have issues that pop up, you're going to have your debuggers already configured to know what the errors are and where they're happening. And this allows you to monitor your app's behavior and to troubleshoot bugs a lot more quickly. Next is to set up error handling and logging middleware. When errors occur in your app, logging helps you keep track of the problems and understand what's happening behind the scenes and keep your errors organized in a user-friendly way so that you can address them methodically. Next, we're going to add unit and integration tests. This helps you deal with your bugs and problems early and helps you understand what they are before you release an update. Stage 4, feature expansion. Integrate Expo modules for device features, camera location notification. If your app is going to be using your phone's native capabilities, you want to set these up so your app can feel polished and give you a real world example of how this will work. And this will allow you to test and refine these features from the start and not be dealing with them at the end. For example, if you're building an app that needs to access a person's camera, you want to make sure that this module is already installed. Otherwise, you would have to do it towards, the end of development. It could create problems or conflicts. Prompt 15, set up OAuth for secure login. If you're going to have an app that requires authentication with people setting up username and passwords, you don't want to build that from scratch. You can use things like Google, Facebook, which allows people to use credentials on those platforms to log into your platform. This allows you to very quickly set up an authentication process, and you're going to use platforms that are already following best practices. And you don't have to think about, did I set up my login process correctly? So this allows your users to just jump into your app without even thinking about it. Prompt 16, set up offline data storage. If you have an app that's going to need to access the same information, over and over again, this allows you to save some of that information on your users' devices. So users can access data even if they don't have access to the internet. Stage 5, after the 4 stages, you're going to have all the ingredients for your app to be set up, working, you're testing it, and now you think about, how do I make it better, and then deploy it. Set up performance optimization techniques. This is telling Replit to maximize your app's performance, make it as good as possible. This will prevent your app from being sluggish or slow. And most importantly, this will help your app perform as well as possible on older devices. And, a lot of times people just developed for the newest devices, right? And they don't think about that a lot of people have older phones or might be using older browsers. This allows you to, have redundancies for your app. Create a CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous deployment. This automates your testing and deployment process. And it makes sure that if you're working on a team, that all of your teammates are running, the same stable code build, and that your users are always getting a stable deployment. This is a more advanced step and won't necessarily apply to everybody's app. But if you're working on a team and you're building an app that's more robust, you'll want to create a continuous integration, continuous deployment process. And prompt 19 is environment-specific configuration. So again, this is more advanced. Not everybody will need this, but you might want to consider creating a dev, staging, and production environment. This allows you to have your dev environment where you're building and experimenting. And then once your code is stable, you move it to staging where people test it. And then production is where the public gets it. And the last prompt is set up localization for multiple languages. If you have an app that's going to be viewed by people who don't speak English, which is most apps, you want to have localization and allow you to translate your app much more easily. Thanks for watching this video, and Replit is an amazing tool. I'll also have all these prompts in a guide that you can download. Just check the video description, and I'll be back soon with more videos. Thanks for watching.